for inviting me to speak today. How much longer are we going to allow our state governments to overrule our right to protect the health and welfare of our communities? How much longer are we going to allow our state elected officials to force GMO agriculture down our throats? It was only a matter of time before those of us who live in Oregon got the same whack on the side of our heads that residents of other states have been getting for years. It's normal in the United States for state governments to prohibit local governments from protecting the health and welfare of their local residents. It happens all the time. Local governments regularly try to pass laws to protect their community's health and welfare. In fact, when you get elected to local office, you have to sign an oath pledging to protect the health and welfare of your community. And the normal response from the state government? Sorry, you're prohibited from passing those laws. That's what happened in Salem a few weeks ago, when both of the corporate political parties and our governor colluded in passing Senate Bill 863 that attempts to take away our local rights to protect our food supply from GMO contamination. It doesn't seem to make much sense until you learn more about how our government is organized and who is really in charge. And if we don't learn how the system really functions, we're never going to be able to protect the health and welfare of our human and non-human residents in the places that we live. I call this situation background corporate normal. State governments ban local communities from protecting themselves from corporate activities all the time. This is how our system of government operates. This is normal. We need to wake up from our collective slumber and start realizing that the Disneyland version of democracy that we're currently living in is not the real thing. So how does our government actually operate? Well, to begin with, because of something called Dillon's rule, the official relationship between state and local governments is like the relationship between parents and their children. The parent, in this case state government, has total and complete authority over what their child, in this case local government, is allowed to do and to not do. Dillon's rule is named for a 19th century judge, John Forrest Dillon, who believed that municipal governments only have the powers that are expressly granted to them by the state legislature. He referred to local communities as merely tenants of their state legislature, which could be, quote, eliminated by the legislature with a stroke of the pen, unquote. The U.S. Supreme Court fully adopted Dillon's ideas in 1891. So much for the notion that all power is inherent in the people. So we should not be too surprised when our state government tries to stop our local communities from passing laws through the ballot box or via our local elected officials to ban GMO agriculture, or to ban factory farms, or to ban clear-cut logging, or to ban raw log exports from our local ports, or to ban herbicide spraying on our local forest lands, or any of the other harmful corporate activities that need to be stopped across our state. Our state legislature isn't going to allow us to do any of these things simply because of something called Dillon's rule. Let me ask you a question. Are you okay with a judge who's been dead for 99 years getting to decide whether the people in Jackson County or Benton or Lane County should have the right to ban GMO agriculture? No. I can't hear you. Are you okay with this? No! Well then, if you're not okay with dead judges making decisions for you, what are you going to do about it? There's another ridiculous rule that government uses all the time to stop local communities from banning harmful corporate activities. It's called state preemption. It is as diabolical as Dillon's rule. State preemption says that a local community cannot ban any corporate activity that is already regulated as a normal and legal activity under state law. So here we go again. The planting of GMO crops is already regulated by the state and federal governments, so local governments are prohibited from banning it. Pretty clever, eh? State preemption and Dillon's rule are fundamentally anti-democratic. Both of them are a direct assault on our authority as citizens. Both of them violate the spirit and the intent of our rights, as stated very clearly in our state constitution. Here's the opening paragraph of our Oregon State Constitution. Natural rights inherent in people. We declare that all power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. And they have at all times a right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper. Those words are crystal clear, and they're completely ignored by those in power, and they will continue to be ignored until we start paying closer attention to how decisions are really being made and who is really in charge. The reality is that our system of government is designed to exclude you and I from any meaningful participation in the political process, and it has always been this way. We saw that again all too clearly just a few weeks ago in Salem, when the Democrats and the Republicans traded their favorite bills as if they were trading candy. Yeah, sure, said the Democrats to the Republicans. We'll let you include a law that prohibits local governments from protecting their residents from dangerous GMOs. No problem. And what will you trade us for that gift across the aisle? Excuse me, politicians in Salem. Our communities are not yours to trade for political favors. State government is founded on our authority, not on yours. And we reserve the right to alter, reform, or abolish state government when our legislators are not serving us. Are you with me? Yeah! So what are we to do about these illegitimate and unacceptable structures of law that regularly overrule what the majority wants? Because you see, even before our state legislature passed SB 863, it was already illegal for our communities to ban GMO agriculture. Did you know that? SB 863 was just their way of rubbing our faces in the mud to remind us how powerless we already are, to keep us in line, to ensure that we continue to feel powerless, to keep us, as many of us, as inactive as possible. But it's not working. No more harmful corporate activities in our communities. Enough already. I'm pleased to tell you that here in Oregon there's a fast-growing new network of local community groups. We call ourselves the Community Rights Movement. I'm a lead organizer of this work in Oregon, and we've got some very bold plans. We in the Community Rights Movement believe that when we, the people, don't challenge the laws that violate our rights, we end up validating those laws with our silence. So we're all about directly confronting unjust laws, just like our ancestors did a long time ago in the American Revolution. You may have heard that both Benton and Lane counties in the Willamette Valley have community rights groups that are attempting to ban GMO agriculture in a bold new way by exercising their rights under law. Our community rights groups didn't even blink when the state legislature attempted to ban local governments from regulating GMO ag. Why? Because our work is about frontally challenging unjust laws, like the one that was passed in Salem. We believe that what the state legislature just did is actually a good thing, because it exposes more clearly than ever which side our legislators and our governor are on. It wakes people up. Is our state government on the side of the people, who are overwhelmingly opposed to GMO agriculture, or is it on the side of Monsanto and the other agricultural corporations? I think we all now know the answer to that question. It's a wake-up call. It's a reality check. We in the community rights movement don't take it lying down when our community rights are being violated. And we don't think you should either. We're responding to these assaults on our communities by continuing to work on passing local laws that repudiate state preemption and Dillon's rule. In other words, we are ignoring Senate Bill 863 because it fundamentally violates our rights. Here's a quote from Ann Neeland, an attorney working closely with the community rights group in Lane County. She says, "Our campaign to pass the local food system ordinance of Lane County is moving ahead full steam. We are undeterred by yet another effort by corporations, that is SB 863, to try to stop the people from passing laws to protect our communities, our health, and our food," unquote. Ann Neeland goes on to say, quote, "To affirm our right to local self-government, the local food system ordinance frontally challenges preemption and state and federal constitutional laws that elevate the rights of corporations over those of the people," unquote. We, the people of Oregon, have a right to a locally resilient and economically viable food system. Do you agree? Yeah. We, the people of Oregon, have the right to decide whether GMO seeds will or will not be planted in our local communities. Do you agree? Yeah. I can't hear you. Yeah. We, the people of Oregon, have the right to actively challenge the laws that violate our rights, like Dillon's rule and state preemption. We have the right to pass local laws that protect the health and welfare of our communities and of our local ecosystems. Do you agree with me? Yeah. Okay. I'm excited there's so much agreement in the crowd. So I'm going to ask you to make a commitment here and now to start educating yourselves about the community rights movement, because we need you to get involved. We need hundreds, if not thousands, of Oregonians to find the time in your busy lives to learn about these diabolical structures of law that violate our rights day in and day out. State preemption, Dillon's rule, and another one I haven't yet mentioned, corporate constitutional so-called rights. Many of you have heard of corporate personhood, but what you may not realize is that corporations exercise a whole bunch of additional constitutional rights that have nothing to do with personhood. These structures of law weave together to form an impenetrable wall that makes it impossible for we the people to exercise our rights of self-government. Across this country, local communities are rising up and directly challenging not just these ridiculous state laws, but the very structure of law that creates inevitable outcomes like SB 863. In 9 states, in 155 communities and counting, people have already passed laws to protect their self-governing authority and to directly challenge Dillon's rule, state preemption, and corporate constitutional so-called rights. Over the past 13 years, these communities have successfully banned corporate factory farms, corporate water withdrawal, corporate fracking, and much, much more. Oregon communities started to launch community rights groups in 2012. There are now 5 active groups in Corvallis, in Eugene, in Cave Junction, in McMinnville, and yes, here in Portland too. And Newport has just launched a group. Our group here in Portland is called Community Rights PDX. Check us out online. Come to one of our 2-hour orientation workshops. Visit our table here at the festival. Pick up a flyer of our upcoming events. I'll be hanging out at the table soon if you want to talk to me. We need your participation to help us decide over the next few months what the focus of our first ballot initiative campaign will be. Should we show our direct solidarity with our sister groups in Corvallis and Eugene by running a ballot initiative that bans GMO foods from all of Portland's grocery stores? Should we make it illegal for Portland's banks to lend money to any GMO-related agriculture? Or should we get a lot broader in our focus and attempt to pass a community bill of rights that guarantees to all residents the right to live in a truly sustainable city? Imagine that. the right to a sustainable local economy, the right to a sustainable transportation infrastructure, the right to safe food for everyone, the right to a truly sustainable local energy path into the future. Not just some groovy political statement that everyone ignores, but an actual local ballot initiative that creates locally enforceable rights for the people and the ecosystems of this local place we call home. Let's not kid ourselves. Our nation and our Mother Earth are rapidly headed towards a scale of ecological crisis never before seen in our history as a species. We are not going to turn this giant ship around simply by buying organic food, or changing our light bulbs, or showing up at rallies, or pulling GMO sugar beets out of farmers' fields, or signing petitions. All of this is worth doing, but it doesn't add up to the structural change we so desperately need. And we certainly can't just keep begging and pleading with our elected officials to stop the corporate harms. For us to have even a chance of success, we're going to have to learn how to seize back and exercise our right to govern ourselves, our right to take back our decision-making authority from the corporate state. Anything less is just not going to do the job. The cosmic question we have to start asking ourselves today and every day is this: are we the people or aren't we? For if we really are, what is it that we want? What is it that we're yearning for? Of, for, and by the people who share and honor this sacred land, a government of we the people, held in our strong and caring hands. Thank you, Portland.
Thank you, Paul Cienfuegos, Community Rights PDX.